Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. So today, for this video, we will be discussing on the topic of critical and cultural theory. Okay, so I hope you still remember what we have covered in the previous classes. Most importantly, I want you to still go back, okay, and refresh about the four major categories of communication theory. All right, so we've already discussed in general about post-positivist or positivist theory. So this is a theory where where they emphasize on scientific method in investigating any relationship. Okay, and then we've also discussed normative theory. Okay, this one we talked about the ideal way of managing or understanding media and media system. Okay, so today we're going to focus on this, okay, a combination of both critical and cultural theory. Okay, why do we combine both? Because cultural theory is actually, okay, it originates from the idea of critical theory. Okay, so let's go. All right, so we can now go back here. All right, critical and cultural theory. So please refer to your lecture notes. Okay, all right, here. Okay, so we will describe, okay, hopefully after this video, you will know what we mean by the critical cultural trend, okay, in contrast with the media effects trend. Okay, what is media effects? Okay, this is among the earliest topic we discussed. We talked about how initially when people talk about the impact of media and when academicians studied the media, they thought that the media was just bad. Okay, why is it bad? Because it was going to basically affect the status quo. But you will see also when we study critical cultural, it also talks about status quo, but it discusses the relationship in a different way. Okay? So it draw distinctions between macroscopic and microscopic mass communication theory, between critical and cultural, those based on empirical research. Okay, macroscopic, that means it talks about big relationship, what the media does to society. All right, or it talks about microscopic, which is a small relationship, okay, what the media and communication, how the media and communication affects individuals, all right? So we'll identify the roots of critical theory, okay, it comes from Marxist, okay, and then we will see the development, okay? And also identify the differences and similarities in political economy theory and cultural studies, okay? So of course, looking at these objectives now, you will be a bit apprehensive because you don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's hope you will know after we finish this video, all right? So what are critical theories? Okay, so critical theories are theories that openly espouse certain values and using these values to evaluate and criticize the status quo, providing alternate ways of interpreting the social role of mass media. Now, there are several words that's very important here. Firstly, values. Okay, remember, okay, we said that to be scientific, all right, we have to be objective. Okay, we have to be very specific and scientific. Okay, remember also we talk about that theories are differentiated by their ontology, axiology, and epistemology. What's all this logy again? All right. So I'm not going to go in depth in terms of that, but you just need to know, all right, that the theory that is being established is always, okay, influenced by the theorists, those people who created the theory. Okay, so what happens, okay, if the theorists have a certain value, that they have a certain beliefs, certain faith, okay, will that influence the theory? Of course, all right, it will influence how the theorists see the world. You remember we talked about positivist theories, okay, media effects theories. These theories were developed by the Americans, okay. So the Americans, when they developed these theories, they were focused in a time where they were really just interested in development and economic superiority. So they see media as a method to achieve that, okay. So when they see that, they say, oh, you know, there's a good things that media can do, so we shouldn't really think about, okay, or talk about other values, okay. On the other hand, okay, the critical theory is developed from the idea of Karl Marx. So who is Karl Marx? You know, he's the father of socialism, okay, communism. So what he says is he's totally against the capitalist views. So he says that everything in this world, economic system, media system, actually has certain purpose. And their purpose is to maintain the status quo. Okay, so when we want to use critical theory to look at media or to explain a certain phenomenon, okay, we already have these embedded values inside us. We believe, okay, that this media is supporting or upholding a certain status quo. Okay, I hope I haven't confused anyone. Okay, so critical theory, number one, it espouses certain values. That means it starts off being biased. Bias towards I don't know what, okay, you don't know who, but it biases against someone who is trying to say, okay, there is a status quo. Status quo means someone has the power over something. And in this sense, in our discipline, someone or institution or an organization or a country, okay, has a power over the media, over the technology, over the content. All right? So it is the responsibility of the critical theorists to identify, to find out who are these status quo, what are they doing, how are they controlling the media, and what is the effect of this media control over the audiences and the media users. Okay, so this is the basic understanding of critical theory. Okay, so number one, you must be able to differentiate critical theory and positivist theory. Right? Positivist theory claims that they are very objective. Everything must have evidence. Everything must be scientifically tested. Everything must be quantitatively calculated. On the other hand, you have this another theories that say, hey, come on, okay, we can't do that because there are bigger issues, okay? And most of the time, critical theory takes a macroscopic view. That means they see it in a, what we call it, wide angle. The effect of media on Malaysians in general, the effect of media on the Muslims. Okay, they don't say the effect of media on Gamon only, or the effect of media on Sarah Christina. Because if we are doing positivists, then you have to learn and to study Gamon. Okay, but critical theory says we have no time to study Gamon only because there are bigger problems that's going on. So we're going to cater to these macro relationships. Understand? Okay, so when we study the macro relationship, Gamon, Sarah Christina, who else is in this class? Okay, everybody is part of this relationship. Okay, so this is in general, right? Critical theory in general. Critical theory is a grand theory also. It's an umbrella theory, okay? It's a particular category. You can have so many other theories under the umbrella, okay? Ella, right? All right. So what are the strengths? The strength of critical theory is that it is politically based, action-oriented. What do we mean politically based? It is talking about power and it has an intention to do something about it. Okay, that when it studies a relationship, okay, when it studies the American media, for example, it is politically oriented. When they study Netflix, they say there's something wrong with Netflix. Netflix is controlling people and we must do something about it. Understand? So this is different from positivists. Okay, positivists will require you to say, okay, if Netflix is giving us bad influence, show us, find the evidence, measure. Okay, but critical theory is action-oriented. So it uses theory and research to plan change in the real world. Okay, so this is a theory, like I said, is bias. Okay, when you venture into the research process using critical theory, you have an intention to change something. Okay, and they ask big important questions like media control and ownership. Okay, this is another topic altogether. Media control and ownership also is a theory on its own. Okay, this theory says, okay, who owns the media, owns the content, owns the people. Just like, okay, who owns Google, right? Who owns Facebook? How much power do those people have? Okay, so these are the questions, okay, that critical theories will ask. But of course, it has its weaknesses. Okay, it is too political. Too political because then it sees everything as problematic. And most of the time, because you see things as too wide, macro, okay, it's hard to offer solutions. Okay? And it typically lacks scientific verification based on subjective observation. This is the weakness, okay? Unlike positivists, it's not, some people consider it not to be not scientific enough, all right? Because if you say, okay, the media is affecting all Muslims in general, how are you going to measure? Are you going to investigate and interview every single Muslims? Okay, that's impossible, okay? So that's why sometimes they often employ innovative but controversial. Okay, what controversial? Okay, for example, they do experiments. Okay, they make some kind of assumptions without totally giving proper methods. Okay, so this is critical theory. Can follow so far? Okay, so this is like the original idea of critical theory. Okay. But before we go into, okay, the different types of critical and cultural theory, we must understand two perspectives of communication. Okay, what do we mean by these communication perspectives? Okay, it's how we understand, or how we understand the whole communication process. Traditionally, okay, mostly people would take communication through the transmissional perspective. Okay, transmit. It is the view of mass communication as merely the process of transmitting messages from a distance for the purpose of control. That means it's very direct. The only way people communicate is send information, and that information is being received. Okay, so that's transmissional. Okay, but there are groups of people that says communication is more than that. Okay, it's not just about sender and receiver. Communication is actually a ritual. What is ritual? Okay, it's the view of mass communication as present a representation of shared belief, where reality is produced, maintained, repaired, and transformed. Okay, what do we mean? Okay, we mean, for example, this transmissional perspective. You listen to a song. Okay, what song? Okay, Katy Perry's song or Bruno Mars. Okay, all his songs are mostly about sex. Okay, so if it's transmissional, okay, then the critical theorists will say, you know, it's all bad. Okay, when Shafizi listens to Bruno Mars, what he gets are information about sex. Okay, I hope you're not listening to Bruno Mars, Shafizi, but if you did, okay, critical theorists would be very angry. All right. But there are a group of people that says, hey, come on, don't underestimate Shafizi, okay? You know, because people are unique, all right? That when Shafizi listens to Bruno Mars, okay, he's not actually consuming all these very, what we call it, literal lyrics, okay? He's actually doing some kind of analysis. Okay, he finds different meanings, or he will discriminate, okay? He would only listen to Bruno Mars when he's not singing about sex, okay? Why? Because the way Shafizi understands, okay, or communicate is defined also by his culture, his values, okay, and his beliefs. Okay, maybe 12 years ago, he likes this type of songs. Now he likes a different type of songs. So communication is not direct. It is a ritual. It goes through different processes and it changes. Okay, can follow? Okay, can you understand? Bruno Mars via transmissional perspective and ritual perspective. Okay, I hope you do. All right. So why do we have to understand this? Okay, we must see that initially the critical theorists, they see communication from this transmissional perspective. Okay, so all you Muslim students listening to Bruno Mars, all of you are badly influenced, and all of you are now American controlled. Okay, which is quite true, but not entirely 100% true. Okay, so we will discuss this in relations to critical cultural theory. Can follow so far? All right. So when we talk about transmissional versus ritual, it will affect our view of critical theory. Okay, you have this hardcore, what we call hardcore critical theories. Okay, they follow Marxist. They see communication, they see media influence as transmissional. And one of it is political economy theory. So this is an example of a critical theory. Remember, critical theory espouses a certain values. Okay, they see there's something wrong somewhere and they want to fix it. Okay, and they see that the problem is with maintaining status quo. That means those with power wants to maintain power. So one of the ways, okay, those in power try to control is through politics and economy. All right. So this one, like we say, okay, when we talk about critical theory, it's macro. You can't deny this is happening. This is happening. Okay. So political economy theory study elite controls of economic institutions such as banks and stock markets, and then show how this control affects many other social institutions, including the mass media. Okay, so the media, who owns the media? Mostly the Americans. So what happens when the Americans, okay, produce most of the films, most of the TV series or the songs that we listen to? What happens? Okay, what happens is we become like the Americans. Okay, probably not 100%. It's not like we're changing or leaving our religion, but our values, our tastes, our beliefs have all changed. All right. So this is the problem, because when we choose to watch a television program, now we choose Netflix. Okay. And when we choose Netflix, okay, we're giving money to the American government. And when we choose Netflix, we're also learning about the American cultures, and we adopt their beliefs, and we continue to support what they have. Can you follow political economy? All right. For example, again, okay, when we talk about the media specifically, who owns what we call it, the biggest market share in terms of cinema and movies? Okay, although Bollywood produces more films than Hollywood, but Hollywood makes more money, much more. Why? Because Hollywood is able to control the global market. Okay, political economy. Okay, what do we mean by that? Okay, all Hollywood films in English. Most people can understand English, American English. Most people cannot understand Hindi. All right, and most people can get access to the Hollywood films. Why? Because it's easier, because the Americans have better access, okay, better technology. They own Netflix, and then Netflix will play American films. So it's connected, okay? Political economy. Can you follow so far? All right. Okay, if you were to study this more specifically, you will be surprised at how much the Americans own. Okay, they basically own almost everything. Okay, so some people equate, okay, these political economy theories, okay, they equate, for example, globalization as a form of colonization. What is globalization? Okay, Gamon and his Starbucks. Okay, most of you are drinking Starbucks, okay, even though it's too expensive. So why do we choose to drink Starbucks? Because it appears that when you drink Starbucks, you have reached a certain level of what we call it, social class. Okay, you feel more confident. You feel more what we call it. I don't know what you feel when you drink Starbucks. I just feel poor. Okay, but point is, okay, why am I talking about Starbucks? Because it has managed to control the what we call it, coffee market. Okay, that all around the world, okay, people are drinking American brands, okay, and they when they choose to drink the American brand, they compromise their own local coffees. So instead, what happens is that the Americans continue to control the economy and the politics. Okay, one Starbucks coffee cup at a time. Okay, so what is the strength, okay, of political economy? It focuses on how media are structured and controlled. Okay, it offers empirical investigation of media finances and industry structure. Okay, and it seeks link between media content production, media structure, and media finances. So you see the strength is very specific, focusing on how media companies make money. Okay, because how they make money influences how they control the economy. Okay, and it focuses on who owns the media companies. In America, All right, the politicians are very, what we call it, very, they try very much to be very close to those media moguls, okay? Because they want to be lobbied or to be supported by the media companies. So those with media companies, so those with access have more power. Okay, you just have to imagine the power that Google have or Facebook have in terms of politics and economy around the world. Okay, that every single person in this world, okay, maybe except for China, okay, are subscribed to Google and Facebook. So when they have access to all of our information, they have the ability, okay, to put us at ransom. Okay, not ransom, what's that word? That's another word for it lah, okay? So what are the weaknesses? Okay, so the weaknesses, it has little explanatory power at a microscopic level. Okay, what does this mean? Okay, we say, oh, Netflix, madam say Netflix. I don't have Netflix, madam. Okay, so what happens to me? Okay, am I free from influence? So this is the weakness of political economy. You have, okay, for example, Aisha and Mariam here, who never watch Netflix or do not have Facebook because they are living in China. Okay, they only go through Weibo, right? Weibo. Okay, so what happens to them? What is the effect? So this is something that political economist theories usually are not able to answer. Okay, they are not really able to answer when you ask questions about the exception to the rules. Okay, those people who are not affected but politically and economically by the status quo. Okay, but of course there is this argument, okay, why talk about the exception when the rule is, okay, when the majority is, yes, everybody is affected by politics and economy. Okay, and another weakness is that it is not concerned with causal explanation. It is based on subjective analysis of industry structure and finances. Again, all right, like I said, okay, when a theory, that's why you have to understand the umbrella of the theory, the categories. Okay, if it's a positivist theory, okay, all of it will have similar strengths and weaknesses. Okay, and because political economy is part of critical theory, okay, it too has similar strengths and weaknesses. Okay, the weaknesses of critical theory, okay, is that it is less scientific. Okay, because it uses subjective analysis, right? And it's really concerned about macro issue. So it is not really concerned about audience reception or media use. Okay, sometimes, okay, people use the media in different ways, okay, like Shafizi just now, okay. So these are things that are sacrificed or compromised when you use political economy theory. Okay, so if I can follow. All right, oh, okay, so another theory is Marxist. Oh, we should put here. Forgot. Full screen, right? Okay. Sorry, okay. So Marxist theory, Marxist theory is probably the hardcore critical theory. All right. So it's the what we call it the kiranya oldest lah, one of the oldest critical theory. Okay, it argues that the hierarchical class system is at the root of all social problems and must be ended by a revolution by the proletariat. So who's the proletariat? Is the everyday people, the masses. Okay, now Marxist, Karl Marx. Okay, the idea of socialism and communism is equality, okay, that everybody is almost just the same, and this is total opposite to capitalism. So Marx found big problems with capitalism because he believes at the end capitalism is not a fair system. It will privilege those with power, those with money. Okay, so he says that everything, okay, the media, the economy, everything is actually supporting the hierarchical class system. Okay, and when this happens, he says it must be ended by a revolution. What do we mean by revolution? A complete change. Okay, so he says, okay, how through Marxist theory, how do these elites or the status quo assert power. Okay, they use it via base, superstructure, and ideology. Okay, base, okay, that means the structures. They own the economy. Okay, those rich people, the elites, the government, the institutions, whoever that has the power, okay, they will own, okay, the economy. Okay, they will own the infrastructure. They will own all the physical, what we call it, machines and buildings. They own it. Okay, they own the base. And when they own the base, they have the ability to control, because people will have to work for them. And to work for them, people will have to follow their rules. Okay? And then this would happen also, this would create some kind of superstructure, which is a society's culture. Okay? Because you live in this culture that is already established, you will follow that. So you can see this criticism with the current situation with the Black Lives Matter, all right? The anti-racism movement in the US, okay? So if you are taking a Marxist theory, then you will totally understand why this is going on, okay? Why are the blacks, okay, after many, many years of independence are still being discriminated, okay? Because, right, they are living in a society of hierarchical class, okay, that privileges the white, okay, or privileges a certain group. And how does the white people or the Euro-Americans able to have this power? Because they are in control of all of this base, superstructure, and ideology. The rich people, the decision makers, are all white. Okay, and they would like to maintain the status quo, and they would like, okay, I wouldn't use the word like, okay, but the system, okay, to ensure that they maintain in power, to be in power, they must make sure that other people do not have the power, and they must privilege people who will maintain their power, who will support them. So who will support them? The white will support the white, so they must make the white people happy. Okay, and why not give the same right to the black people? Because probably the black people will going to create some kind of a revolution, because they're different. Okay, so this is also embedded in ideology. In Marxist theory, ideas present in a culture that mislead average people and encourage them to act against their own interests. Okay, they are able to do things that are actually bad for them. Okay, again, in a capitalist society, okay, banking system, you know, when you want to buy a house, buy a car, okay, all of us think, alhamdulillah, now I'm good enough that I can borrow from the bank. Borrowing from the bank is very dangerous and is not really in our own interest, because most of the time we are going to be paying more than we should. Okay, but the ideology, because we have been trained to understand, okay, you must have a big house to be very happy, you must have a big house, okay, to have a big wife. Okay, so to maintain that big house and big wife, you must go to the banks. And when you go to the banks, okay, you're paying a lot of money to pay for something that you will never own. Okay, but who will benefit from this? The bankers, the rich people, okay, the elites. So this is what they try to argue in Marxist theory. Okay, and what has this got to do with the media? Everything, because who owns or control the media has the ability to control people's mind. Those people producing American films, American music, okay, they are the ones who are supporting this, what we call it, racist ideology in the US. You can see in the films how the blacks are being portrayed, or even musics, okay? You see black music as gangster music, okay? When it's white, it's all about what we call it, pop music, clean, right? So there is a very significant difference that you can identify, okay, between black and white. All right, can you follow? Okay, I hope so. So this is Marxist theory, right? Now, so political economy and Marxists are example of critical theory, and they adopt transmissional perspective. Okay, so they're hardcore. macro. Remember, one of the weaknesses is that it is unable to understand, okay, how individual, okay, relate to the media. So individuals, although despite, okay, we cannot deny the issue of political economy, we cannot deny about systemic racism and all of that, okay, but why is it, okay, there are still groups of people that are not really affected by the media? It's because these people, okay, probably they adopt or they experience communication not via transmissional, but via the other one, okay, ritual perspectives, okay? So you have one group, critical theory, and then another group, the critical cultural theory. The word here is cultural, okay? So, you know, I think we've already discussed, okay, the history of critical cultural theory, okay, between the American academics, American scholarship with the European, okay, mostly German dominated academics, okay? So you have this group of Europeans who have experienced communism, okay? But at the same time, they have gone to America and they also have experienced the American life. You know, they like the American pop culture, but at the same time, they understand the situation that's going on, that there is some kind of control and that the media is also trying to maintain certain type of status quo. So how do you find the middle ground? So you try to see this relationship via culture. Okay, so instead of trying to make macro, what you call it, assumptions, okay, they try to be more focused. Okay, so that means they try to be quite positive. They are rather quite post-positivist as well. Okay, so they look at the impact via culture. So what is culture? The learned behavior of members of a given social group. Okay. So you have cultural studies. Okay, it focuses on the use of media to create forms of culture that structure everyday life. Okay, now cultural studies. You have, for example, okay, so many subcultures in this world. Okay, you have the maybe going, for example, young people. There are those who like to dress like rap stars, but those who are into R&B, those who are punk, those who are hardcore rockers, okay? Or you can see how different culture through different times, maybe during the time of your grandparents, everyone was wearing bell bottoms, everyone was having, you know, Beatles hair, okay? But how did that change? Okay, how is it that today people are no longer wearing like that? Because culture changed, okay? Because communication changed, media changed. So it what we call it, adopts this ritual phenomenon, okay? So they say that media is something that affects our culture, okay? Not really affect us 100%. But of course, right, this culture can be detrimental, okay? Culture can also control people when the culture is hegemonic or hegemony. Hegemony in itself is a theory, a critical theory, where there is a culture imposed from above or outside that serves the interests of those in dominant social positions, okay? So what does this mean? Again, like I said, cultural, okay? We talk about the media influence, okay? When we take the critical theory, okay, macro theory, we say that the impact is very dangerous, okay? And it's trying to put certain people, to maintain certain people in power. But then how do you answer, okay, when some people, for example, those who are having problems, or those who are having issues, you know, they get gratified, or they become very happy, or they become motivated when they watch certain movies or when they listen to a certain song. Okay, that means that the influence is not entirely negative. Okay, so that is cultural studies. But okay, again, when we talk about this culture, most of it are hegemonic. That means, okay, what is hegemony? The clothes that we wear, for example, okay? What kind of brands do you wear, Ahmad? Okay, who else? Okay, Dayang. Okay, you like to go to Uniqlo or H&M. Okay, why do you go there? Okay, because you think, oh, the brand is good, the clothes is good. Okay, but we don't realize that most of the time our decision is made based not on what we truly want, but what we assume, okay, or what we see around us, because we see everyone else is wearing it, because we see the advertisements. Okay, so what happens when we all go shop at Uniqlo and H&M? Okay, we continue to maintain a particular status quo because these are all imported brands. Okay, and they bring with them not local fashion or local taste. So when we buy or when we continue to uphold this certain fashion or this certain brands and designers, we are maintaining the status quo. Instead of wearing baju kurung, you want to wear what we call it, I don't know, tight jeans or some kind of a capri pants. Okay. So it's called hegemonic culture because we are adopting another culture that's not ours, okay? And as a result, we compromise our own culture, okay? So of course, we've already discussed just now political economic theories, okay? It focuses on social elites' use of economic power to exploit media institutions. So these are examples of critical cultural theories, okay? Political economy is a critical theory. So most of the time, cultural theories, okay, and critical theories, they use qualitative methods, okay, not quantitative. Quanti, measure, quali, qualify. That means you have to analyze, you have to explain, you have to elaborate based on your own observation, okay? So this is the problem with critical cultural theories. Okay, they are criticized because they make assumptions without providing scientific ways of measuring the relationship. Okay, so we talked about culture just now, right? So this culture, okay, these cultural groups or cultural theories, okay, is a dynamic, okay, evolution of critical theory. Remember we talked about Marxist. Marxist was the hardcore, was the original. Okay, but then as time moved on, right? And then the world has changed. There was no longer between capitalism and communism. Okay, and it gave rise to a new group that is called neo-Marxist. Neo means new Marxism. That means they adopt the Marxist idea, but it is not the original one. It is a transformed Marxist idea. Okay, so neo-Marxism, okay, was propagated by the Frankfurt School. So who is this Frankfurt School? I've already discussed. These are those Germans. Okay, okay, they were at the Frankfurt universities, and then most of them traveled to America after that. Okay, University of Frankfurt, Max Horkheimer and Theodor Adorno. Okay, so they combined the idea of critical theory, okay, the political economy theory, and culture. So they talk about culture industries. Okay, so what is this? I need to breathe. Okay, so remember we said just now you have critical theory. Under critical theory you have political economy. So political economy says, oh, it's because they own the economy, it's because they own everything, they can force us. All right. But neo-Marxists believe, okay, it's more than that. Okay, the influence is not just via physical, it's not just via base and structure. Okay, the influence is really happening via culture. So neo-Marxism adopts the ritual understanding. Okay, so they say that mass media actually, okay, turns high culture and folk culture into commodities sold for profit. Okay, what does this mean? Cultural industries, okay? If you fully understand, you can see this idea, okay, neo-Marxists here, they are still critical. That means they are still biased. They still find problems with the media, okay? But they don't see the problem as coming from just your typical politics or economics. They see it in a ritual way, which is via culture. So mass media turn high culture and folk culture into commodities sold for profit. Okay, so cultural industries. Okay, everything that you watch on television, okay, or anything you listen to on the radio is all about making you buy something, right? I've already discussed this just now, right? When we talk about Uniqlo, we talk about Starbucks, okay? So Starbucks, for example, like turning high culture, okay, brewed cafe, latte, cappuccino. It's not a typical Malay coffee. Who would drink this? Oh, the white man, the colonials, okay? Those who we see as of the upper class. Okay, but what did Starbucks do? Starbucks say, hey, you know, brewed coffee, okay, iced cold coffee or whatever latte is not just for those people, it's for the everyday people. Okay, so instead of selling brewed coffee and coffee machines, you can buy Starbucks for 12 ringgit. Still quite expensive, but still affordable for some people. Okay, so it turns Starbucks not just as a coffee, but it's actually a culture, a value of drinking brewed coffee, drinking American coffee, drinking imported coffee. That when you drink Starbucks, again, okay, like I've mentioned many times, okay, it has changed your values, it changes your taste, it changes your beliefs, it changes your lifestyle. Okay, it's not just about drinking that coffee, it's also about compromising your own taste. Okay, that local coffee does not taste the same. That local coffee does not have the same value. You're not going to pay 20 ringgit for that particular Malay kopi o. All right. So you put values, okay, through this culture, you put value to other things, okay. You put more value to the coffee that's owned by the Americans, for example, and as a result, you maintain that status quo. So this status quo, okay, that is mentioned by the critical theorists just now, is not just maintained by force, by politics, by economy, but mostly, according to these neo-Marxists, it is also maintained by cultural industries, like Starbucks, like Netflix, okay? So British cultural studies, we've already gone through, right? I hope you can understand it's from hardcore critical theory to cultural theories, okay? Fundamentally, they all have the same biasness, okay? They see there is a problem in this relationship. It's just that cultural studies adopt these ritual values, okay? So just now, the Frankfurt School had come out with the idea of cultural industries. Okay, so later on, they understand that culture is not just based on commodities, okay, but it's very much based on everyday relationships also. Okay, so it comes from the idea by Raymond Williams that say culture is ordinary. Okay, remember when we talk about critical theory, they talk about revolution, about change. Okay, they say that no, okay, if you, for example, Black Lives Matter issue, the only way to change is to bring down the Trump government, or to make sure there are now more American, what we call it, black politicians, or that you must change the law in America. They want revolutions, okay? But those who believe in cultural studies, they say it's not entirely about hardcore revolution and change, because culture is ordinary. That means change must be within the ordinary, in the everyday. Okay. So this idea, okay, from Raymond Williams was upheld and made popular by Stuart Hall. So this is the guy. So Stuart Hall was actually an immigrant. I'm not sure from which country, but he was black. And he was the only black academic in Oxford at that time. And then he went to Birmingham. Okay, so he worked with all of these white scholars. So he brought with him a different experience. This is again a point that you must put into consideration, that theorists, okay, are always influenced by their own circumstances. Okay, Marx, when he came up with this idea, he was in a different time. Okay, that's why he's very strong in his approach. Okay, because it was communism against capitalism. And then you see it's changed subtly, okay, with Horkheimer, okay, with the German scholars, with the Frankfurt School, because they have a different experience. And now comes in a black immigrant from one of, I don't know which country, from one of the African countries, okay, to the British academia. And he then brought a different understanding, okay. So he says, okay, well, you know, of course, yes, okay, the media is where you maintain the status quo. But the media can also be a pluralistic public forum. So pluralistic public forum in itself is a theory, okay? In critical theory, it is the idea that media may provide a place where the power of dominant elites can be challenged. And you can see this in the social media, right? You hashtag Black Lives Matter, then you have all these Malay girls, Black Lives Matters, Black Lives Matters. They don't talk about the Palestinians, but they talk about these Black Lives Matter because they see BTS doing it, okay? But point is what? That dominant elites can be challenged. But through what? Not through revolution, but through ordinary everyday cultures. Okay, through the sharing of more knowledge, through the what we call it, to the, to the everyday cultures. Okay, like we mentioned just now. Okay, how we see in social media, people are carefully challenging the elites. Okay, so they say that culture. It is in culture where social struggle and a place where change occur. Okay, you can create change via culture. Okay, I think we stop there for now because that's the first part of critical and cultural theory. I hope you understand. Okay, you can see the dynamic evolution of the critical cultural theory. If you have any questions, we can discuss in class later. Okay, Assalamualaikum. Bye. Okay, where to stop? Okay, bye.